The classroom that I had before this one was full of furniture, mostly from the 80s.
My old classroom was really a mix of kind of leftover furniture, because as a learning center, you kind of get whatever you can get your hands on, basically. And sometimes that's the leftover furniture out of some other classrooms, and then you build whatever you can out of it.
It was important to know the state of our classrooms right now in terms of what Meteor saw, what might be able to be reused, and what needed to be moved out, to be able to assess our classrooms and give us a true picture of what truly was in our classrooms.
When you have others that come in and give you a completely objective view of what they're seeing going on, it really does help you step back and take a look and reflect on your instructional practices and what you want to see change and what you recognize needs to move forward.
Before we just launched into purchasing furniture, we wanted to be very sure that the furniture we selected were really going to meet the needs of our students and the teaching that could go on in the classrooms.
We were able to look through different options for seating, different options for furniture that was made available to us, and then we were able to have some voice and choice in what was finally implemented into our classrooms.
So when you do design for the average, you're really not designing for anybody. So having these options for seating, giving the kids more agency in where they sit and how they arrange their classroom and what their learning environment is, that helps them out a lot in just wanting to be there.
So I'm TK through 5th grade in this one room, so I needed different size furniture for the children. Instead of the children coming in and having to adjust to all the same size, I now have a K1 area, a 2-3 area, and a 4-5 area, all adjusted to those children's sizes.
It's not just about new furniture, it's about what happens in the classroom and the instruction that will take place and the teaching that goes on. And so just buying furniture, you can go to any vendor and buy furniture, but Meteor was unique to me in that they offered this support to our teachers, and it's ongoing. It's not just a one and done, so they're not just coming in, pilot teachers got their furniture. They'll continue to work with our teachers over time to help them continue to use the furniture in optimal ways.
Having brand new furniture and having things that were created with them in mind is so empowering, and it's so impactful to who they are and who they will become.
Hi, I'm Linda Gale Walker with Meteor Education, along with
Doreen Osimi, Superintendent for the Yuba City Unified School District.
And Pamela Rongzeb, Assistant Superintendent of Education Services for Yuba City Unified.
And we're here today to have a conversation about how Yuba City utilized their ESSER funds to make a lasting impact on their district. So I'm so excited y'all are here, and it's so nice to see both of you and just be part of this process with you as a kind of a partner. One of the things I want to first start out with is you, kind of what sparked the idea for you to utilize ESSER funds in this way?
So districts in California received a ton of money following the pandemic and during the pandemic to assist with purchases that were needed for the students, and because we were in virtual learning. And so we were faced with millions of dollars coming in, and the fact that we needed to comply with the requirements of each of the funds that were coming in from the federal government. And at the same time, we had state dollars that we still had to spend. And so we looked through the requirements, Pam, along with our CBO and others, to determine how we could use the funds and make a lasting difference in the lives of our community and our students. And so we went through the ESSER requirements, and a lot of the things that were required, we had already purchased. We had technology, we had social workers and counselors, we had the HVAC systems had been updated. So we had all of those things. And so we looked at our facilities and how could we, during the pandemic and what might lie ahead, could we make our outside of our facilities and our inside of our facilities the most flexible? And I had just been with Meteor, and they had presented information not only about the furniture and its flexibility, but also the social emotional learning and the learning environments for students. And so that sparked a conversation with Pam and our cabinet regarding how we could best use the funds and make a lasting impression in our district. And so Pam can talk about how we decided on the ESSER and what we did with the ESSER funds.
Right. We wanted to do more than just purchase materials and things to use in the school. We wanted a little bigger vision, and we wanted to take the lessons we learned from the pandemic. We needed to be able to, if this were to happen again, be more prepared. And one of the things that we thought about was shade structures. So it's very hot in Yuba City, so when when opportunities present themselves, students can learn outside, plus to provide opportunities to expand our multi-purpose rooms and allow students to eat outside. That was really important. But also within the classroom, having furniture where when it's possible to move and have the kids work together collaboratively, but in circumstances like the pandemic, the furniture can be moved apart and the kids can be separated. So those were some of the initial thoughts and plans. We also took advantage of the opportunity to upgrade our play structures because this was a great opportunity to do some of that. Moving forward, though, we have a bigger vision for the classroom experience and how teachers will change their instructional practices based on the opportunities presented through the flexible furniture.
You know, that's kind of intriguing because I know exactly the presentation you're talking about. We kind of call that safety from the inside out, and how this trauma-informed design in these environments can really help students and help build that community you want. But one of the things you said that kind of triggers for me too is, how do we build these campuses that are lasting and then they have kind of an equitable situation across all of them? Because I do know lots of people kind of pick these quick fixes. This was a pretty major undertaking you both did. Did you receive any pushback from any of that?
Well, I don't know that we would consider it pushback. We did receive questions. There was we had to spend time really explaining the why behind what we were trying to do, and that this was going to be more of a journey rather than a single purchase. And that's the biggest piece that takes a while for everyone to engage in and understand. But as we move through, I think it's beginning to really catch fire, and the interest of the teachers in learning more about things that they can do with the furniture has begun to take hold.
I think that was important because I think that districts will often, when money comes in, and it's a lot of money, they will just start spending, and they don't necessarily think through how you can really utilize funds. One-time funds are always challenging because you don't want to use one-time funds for staffing because the funding goes away, and then you're left with having to eliminate people, and that's never a good thing. And when you're trying to make a difference in your schools and your district, you really have to be thoughtful in how you're going to use those one-time funds. And so it really was important to me that it was something that was going to be lasting, that wasn't just going to be a quick spend the money and have stuff that wasn't going to be able to be effective in the classrooms. And it also was important to me as the superintendent that every student in the district was going to have an opportunity to have the best learning environment they could. And so that's why we were very thoughtful in how we were going to do this, that every school, every student was going to have the best learning environment with the furniture coming in. And then we also thought about the fact that during the pandemic, we know that our students were struggling, our families have been struggling. So it was important also, we thought that every school needed a wellness center. And so we, not only the classrooms were going to get something, but our counselors and our school psychologists and our social workers would have a room on campus that students would go to that needed, because of their social, emotional, whatever was going on with them, we're going to be able to go to, and it would be a safe environment. So that was another piece that we thought was important to bring to our district and to our schools.
Yes, I agree with that. And one of the things too, when we talk about the instructional, the catalyst, and I love how that you utilize those wellness centers kind of as a catalyst for this is important. You already had made that commitment as a district, but going back to something you said, Pam, too, about the classrooms really being this environment pieces was really a catalyst for instructional change, and being able to use those ESSER funds that way which we know that increases student engagement, which we know helps with social emotional wellness, and the research all shows that. What do you feel like, because you have to justify using your ESSER funds, I'm sure, everywhere. If a district was here today asking that question, what was your justification for using those funds to utilize that instructional change and then increase the social emotional health? Because I know the wellness center is one piece, but what about the classroom instruction?
Well, we're all, as educators, working on a continuous improvement cycle, right? This is something we think about all of the time. How can we improve instruction and continue that growth process? The furniture opportunity is just one piece of a bigger picture in trying to continue for our teachers to learn the best possible practices in the classroom for reaching those kids. And it's just like we ourselves, when you come into a place that's beautiful and comfortable and meets your needs and gives you opportunities to learn in different ways, you're interested in it, just naturally increases those opportunities for engagement and actually reduces some of the challenges that teachers have with students by having those chairs that wobble a little bit and allow that student to stay focused. And there's just a myriad of opportunities in that way for those kids. And those are the small adjustments that can make changes for students.
I love the video. You have a video that one of the teachers shot that shows the kids coming in to the classroom, and we'll send that video to our audience. But what an amazing thing to hear the kids' reactions to, look at my space. I know in school districts we have lots of different equity with spaces. Some schools, you may have the, I call them the, favorite schools. You have kind of that battle you hear of, well, you like that school, they got this, or you like this school. What did you do to define equity? How did you just decide to make that happen all the way across?
Well, that was important to me to make sure that it wasn't going to be the haves and the have-nots, because that does happen in districts. And so we talked about, were we going to bring furniture in school by school? Mm-hmm. But when you do that can cause why that school, not the other school? And so we discussed this, and we thought we would do it by grade level. So every school, every grade level, because every school has a first grader. Mm-hmm. And so we really thought through that and discussed it with the principals, and they understood our thinking. I did not want it to be this school or that school. It was going to be every school was going to get their first grade furniture or their fifth grade furniture or their eighth grade furniture, because every school has that in our district. Mm-hmm. So that's what we thought about when we were making those decisions. So I've done a lot of purchasing in my years in education and know how things can go awry and how feelings can be hurt. And so that was important to me, to make sure that it was equitable throughout the district and that every student was going to have the furniture. It's going to take some time. I mean, it's a 3-year project, but by the end of the 3rd year, our K-8s will have all of the furniture in every single classroom.
Well, and one of the other things we talk about that I think is important is, what were any ahas kind of do in this process with y'all both? I mean, that you were like, next time if I did this again, helping somebody else come in, what would be something that you were like, this really is something that was a benefit that maybe we didn't expect?
I think one of the things from a superintendent's perspective is you need to make sure your board is is informed, understands the why, understands this isn't just furniture, because people could perceive it as you're just buying furniture. Right. But it's really talking about the learning environment, the sustainability of the project, the use of one-time funds, and then it's taking it out to your administrators who will be working with the teachers and the staff who have the furniture, being able to help them understand. And I think that's what's been so beneficial in this whole project, is that Meteor truly is a partner. And so staff come in and help our teachers, because the other thing is, for some, change is hard. This furniture, the way our classrooms look, probably are what our classrooms look like in terms of the rows. And one of the things I saw was our teachers were on their own trying to create flexible learning environments by purchasing things that they saw at yard sales and going to Target. And I didn't want them to have to do that in order to have the best environment to teach and learn. And so I think that making sure your board is informed and understands the why, your administrators, and also working with your union leadership and helping them understand what's going on. Because again, change can be hard for some. Some of them embrace it, but you really want to make sure that your staff doesn't feel like it's being done to them, that they're partners in this, and that they're in control of what their environments are going to look like. Because I'm not in the classroom every day, they are, and so it was important to me to make sure that their voice was heard during this whole project.
Yes, and I think that contributes to, when we talk about the mental health of students, I think the way that y'all rolled this out and kind of with the pilot teachers and building that buy-in really helped your staff have some mental health too. And I loved one of the things that, I don't know if y'all even noticed you did that, but was you kind of let them have their own level of readiness. So we're doing this, but it wasn't, like you said, done to them. One of the last kind of things I want to talk about too is, have you had any lessons learned about how you utilize those ESSER funds?
Well, we spent a lot of time thinking it through. We went through the initial process, like we talked about, in purchasing the big things. Our ESSER 3 alone was over $28 million. So this was, we wanted to be thoughtful and take our time and make good decisions. And we really focused on what we had learned from the pandemic in general about what the needs were and what we could take advantage of with those funds. So in terms of lessons learned, the thing I would just recommend is really being thoughtful. Take a look at your current environments and think about the best possible way that you could, be equitable with your kids and think about what you're going to need moving forward. We had done those first steps with ESSER 2 funds. Like Superintendent Osumi had mentioned, we had taken care of all the technology pieces. So this was like a natural next step for the use.
In lots of districts, I see their technology budget that was maybe 10 years during COVID became, all of a sudden 1 year, and so that's exactly true. What are we going to spend with intentionality? I think that is something that you both did so well coming up with that idea, but also being able to utilize those funds in something that makes a lasting impact. So one of the things as well, I know we looked really at how to having a learner-centric design, which is a lot different than what we're talking about with the way the rooms were configured and being able to have that flexibility and mobility. What do you feel like your return on your investment has been with what you've done so far?
So when we looked at the expenditure of our ESSER funds in all aspects, we were really looking at things to use the money on that would be sustainable, would be here for beyond us. And so we really looked at the learning environment in terms of the fact that this furniture is going to be in the classrooms for 20 years or more. The other thing was, in terms of the learning environment, is understanding that teaching and learning has changed over the years and has truly evolved. You talk about collaborative learning, and when you go into a traditional classroom in rows, and then teachers trying to move the kids into collaborative groups, it takes way too much time. What we're seeing with the movable furniture is our teachers can get our students into Socratic seminars, into collaborative groups within just a few seconds. And so it's teaching the students how to move and to get into their groups. It gives the students the flexibility to pick where they want to sit, to be able to learn in the way they know they can learn best. So I think that was, for me, was important, that it wasn't just a one and done, just to buy something and then it's going to get stuck in a bookshelf or
somewhere
in a closet, that it was going to be present, visible, and the learning environments are going to be inviting, engaging, and meet the needs of all of our students.
No, I love that. And I think that return on investment, when you start thinking about that with the teachers in that aspect, that support we kind of have worked on and talked about, that really has helped the teachers move their practice. I mean, do you see that as well? Because I know, Pam, you go lots of places.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of targeting this as an option for our ESSER 3 funds, because this is something we do now, but the dividends will pay many years in the future, because this gives our staff an opportunity to really learn and grow for many more years. They will still be figuring out all the different things they can do with this furniture to improve instruction. So it has a long-term impact.
Well, and that's something I want to hit, just our last kind of question today too. Districts, especially, I have several friends that are superintendents across the country, are struggling a little bit. Like you said, they're getting money, but they're trying to be, you know, it seems like there's so many things that they could choose to spend it on. How would you talk to them and say, this was a great way to spend our money for ESSER funds?
One of the challenges is that one of the recommended things through ESSER funds was to add additional staff to help support learning loss for students, and all of that is great. But if you've been in education a while, you understand that you cannot buy things that eat with one-time funds.
Yes.
So we really had to use a different strategy to address how we would pay for some of those additional services and add staffing, and then use these funds for something more long-term.
Yes, and I think lots of people are struggling with that as they see those funds come to an end. Anything else you'd like to share with our group today?
I think, and Pam hit on that, I think from a superintendent's perspective, and this is why this was so important to me, and this whole project was so important to me, was I wanted it to be sustainable. I wanted it to outlive my time in education. And I wanted it to really be about our students and about our staff and about the best teaching and learning environments we could provide to our community and our district using one-time funds. And so the ESSER funds was a perfect opportunity to do what I had envisioned when I became a superintendent in terms of making a lasting change for this district.
Well, I agree, and thank you both so much for being here to talk about this. Doreen, you're going to be stuck with me all day today, but I do think it's really a critical piece of making that decision to use those ESSER funds for districts, and the lasting impact is something I think that we've already seen some struggles with. People have went in and bought things that they thought were going to help during the COVID crisis, and they ended up not having the impact that they thought they would. So it has been so nice to be in this journey with you, but you know, we're still right in the middle of it. It's about halftime through the ESSER funds. So when we think about the process we did, I know we started looking at you wanted these environments. We were committed to that, being able to be sure that we have met the needs of the ESSER funding. We did the Reimagine workshop with your leaders. We also went through a process to do pilot teachers and letting them kind of design those spaces, and then we have rolled it out now. One group, we got the feedback loop, and we had one group. Do you feel like moving forward it'll be a little bit maybe less stressful since we kind of taken that process through, learned some lessons, and moved forward? Do you feel like that is something that, you know, I know one group was hesitant, they've now come on board wanting to do it. What is your reaction from your staff been?
The staff that are getting the furniture are very excited. I think it's the apprehension of packing up and moving in.
Yes.
That probably was one of the things that we learned. But I do think that, and Linda Gale, talking about a partnership, this has been a partnership. You took our vision and our conversations about how we wanted this to roll out and made it happen. And we've had to change direction sometimes based upon reaction from staff. And so I think that that's something that's important to discuss in the future, is just our journey, because again, districts are different, cultures are different, superintendents are different, and so you really do have to modify and make those adjustments. But we can definitely share our journey with the audience and help them know some of the lessons learned, some of the things that we felt were successful, and really the partnership we've had with Meteor.
Right. I agree with that. So, all right. Well, anything else y'all want to share? I think we wrapped up. So thank you so much, and thank you for our guests today. to discuss how we make a lasting impact using ESSER funds. We would love to talk to you about how you also could join us on this journey and really make a lasting impact. So please go to meteoreducation.com/ESSER, and there'll be more information there for you. Thanks for coming and listening to us.